So I have the distinct pleasure of sharing with you some content that is really near and dear to my heart and my kind of area of passion. And that is, as you can see up here, we're going to talk about and really look at and kind of investigate some of the science and some statistics surrounding how our brains operate kind of under pressure. What is our stress response, so that ideally we can all be much more skillful at managing that for ourselves and for others. So the first thing that I would love to do is kind of have you guys take just a moment of pause, which I know is a term that you're going to become kind of really just very, very intimately connected with this year. So take a moment of pause and reflect on just right now, if you had to put a number to kind of where you are in your day, what your stress level has felt like accumulated today, take a moment and think about, what is that? What's your day been like? And if 1 is not at all stressed, I'm feeling at ease, my thoughts are gathered, I'm feeling kind of at a nice even pace, and 10 is I'm feeling the impact of having a lot going on, I'm feeling highly stressed. Take a moment and just think about that. So hopefully, even if you didn't come up with a number in those few seconds, you at least did a moment of pause to think, yeah, wow, what's a stress inventory right now? Can I pause and kind of gauge, where am I in this very moment, right? That activity is an exercise actually that I'm going to turn into more of an exercise that you will see post this video. And it's something that I think can be a really powerful tool for all of us around taking moments of pause to get more clarity on our stress levels and stress response. So one of the things that I am going to start with, in addition to that, is sharing with you a little reflection of a couple stories in my own life. I was noticing today, thinking about, what is my stress level and stress response. I was noticing today how today happens to have been a snowy, kind of a surprise snowy Colorado day. And so my drive into work was a little bit more intense. Lots of people on the road, lots of accidents. I was about 45 minutes delayed for a meeting that I was supposed to get to. And I noticed how, even though I knew I was under stress, these are typical stressful moments, traffic, weather, all the things, right, kind of all the bullet point lists. What I noticed is how much that got into my body. And by the time I arrived at work and showed up at the meeting, I then had this moment when I connected with one of my colleagues with whom I was meeting, where I kind of thought, she was giving me a little bit of a shameful look, or there was some way that I really interpreted the way she was looking at me, and I was already stressed, and so when she said, are you ready to get started, my response was a little tart, right? And then I remember sitting down and just having the meeting and just feeling that kind of stress level and feeling a little bit less, joyful to be around, right? So that is what I'm constantly thinking about, how much this is what interpersonal mastery is all about. How aware am I, not only that I am stressed, but what is my stress level and what is the impact on others, and how do I manage and mitigate that, right? I'm also thinking about a coaching client that I was working with recently who was sharing that, she just feels that she's constantly asked to do more with less, that she works for a police department, and she was talking about how she got some feedback recently that people see her as frazzled, and that just being told she's frazzled frazzles her. Right? And so she was kind of describing how she's in somewhat of a constant state of a little bit of angst to get stuff done and to look competent and to not be frazzled. And the more she tries to not be frazzled, the more stressed she is, and potentially the more frazzled she appears. It's these mini moments that really I'm going to keep connecting in, especially when we get to the second video where I talk a little bit about our brain science under pressure and stress. It's these moments that I want you to be really kind of distinctly aware of. So I'm also now going to give you guys a moment to look at some of the impacts of stress. Just 4 of my favorite statistics. I have about 50, but here are 4 of my favorite statistics that just get us thinking about stress and us in the workplace, right? And I want you, as I go through these statistics, I want you to let yourselves know and be thinking about, do any of these feel like they are true for you? So the first says this. This is a statistic that has been around for years, and year after year it continues to be the same. And essentially it is that between 60 and 90% And actually the statistic shows that it's upwards of 90% of doctor visits are related to stress, that what brings people in has something to do with a stress-induced illness, right? The second statistic has us think about a survey that was done by, kind of a cross-cultural survey, and questions were asked to kind of find out what is the main source of stress for people in their lives. And as you can see, 69% response rate said 69% of employees responded that work is the most significant cause of their stress in life. Third statistic then kind of directly connects to that. Fascinating study by a healthcare advocacy group stated that that healthcare costs are about 46% higher for people who are stressed at work than those who experience less stress. And of course, there were studies and more data in the survey about kind of what is the stressed response and what's that level of stress versus people who are maybe more able to manage that or just don't see work as a significant source of stress. 46% higher, right? And then lastly, just really caught my attention given what I'm noticing in my own life. Kind of this is that piece around just not being able to unplug, right? That if work is really a significant cause of stress for most people, and if we look at the statistic, it says Americans, 42% of Americans check their work email at least once a day while on vacation. That idea that work has become embodied in us, and almost that we are sort of hyper-conscious that we don't disconnect from work. Right? That same coaching client I was mentioning before, the one who's told she's frazzled, talked about how even when she takes vacation, and her boss was sharing this, I was meeting with both of them for a meeting, and they both said, they noticed that even when they are on vacation, they both stated that they experience a high level of guilt because they know that them being out of work means somebody else is having to work extra hard. So even though they're on vacation, they're still reporting high levels of stress related to work, right? That they really can't unplug, and that they ultimately don't get the rest and respite that they need, which then impacts how they show back up at the workplace. So just want you to think about, did any of these strike a chord with you? Does that feel like it's in line with some of what you're experiencing, right? And the other thing that I want you to really think about is not only does this fit for you, but how much then, right, because we're always trying to tie this back to productivity and bottom line, how much does this actually impact our bottom line results? So that kind of direct connection between why would I even pay attention to my stress and actively work to reduce it personally and in my interpersonal relationships, but what is actually the bottom line impact of investing in reducing my stress and the stress of others? So that's what I'll ask you to think about. And in just a moment, we'll take a look at actually the neuroscience of our brains under stress and pressure.